Hey y'all, welcome to 911 Delta.
I'm Casey.
And I'm Anna, and we're your hosts.
Welcome to our first episode. We're really excited about this. We're going to start off first introducing ourselves a little bit. Like I said, I'm Casey. I've been dispatching or had dispatched for about 16 years. I dispatched both fire and rescue and police. Also answered all those wonderful 911 calls. Been married for 27 years, two children, 27 and 22, and live on a farm, and that's my go-to place. I absolutely love it. And Anna?
And I live on a little farm too. I just have horses though. Quesadilla has all kinds of animals. And oh my gosh, I have been married this time since 2011. So what is that, 12 years? And we have two kids. They're 7 and 5. They're boys and they're wide open all the time. And I started dispatching. Actually, Casey and I started at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So 16 years. And we didn't start in the same agency though. When I started, I was just doing answering 911 calls and fire rescue dispatching. And then after a few years, I moved over to the agency that Casey worked for. And that's how we really got to know each other. We worked on the same shift.
Not at first, though, right?
Not at first. Right. I
had did my good deed and volunteered to come to the night shift because that was a thing that nobody ever wanted to do.
Except those of us who are serious night shifters.
Yeah.
Not morning people. Yeah.
So I volunteered, and it was supposed to be for a 2-month run, and it ended up to be way longer than 2 months. But that is when I started working with Anna and two of our other great friends, Ann and Boob, who will hopefully be on the show at some point in time. And we have created the best friendship. So
yes,
here we are.
yes. And Casey, when we were on that shift, we all had nicknames. However, Casey, you're a little bit like my grandma, and Casey makes up her own nicknames for people.
I do.
So
pretty much everywhere I go, like every shift I had,
yeah. So Boob's real name is not Boob.
What is her real name? I don't even know her real name. I'm just kidding. Nobody.
Oh my gosh. We could tell the story of how she got her multiple names, but then if we ever have her on, she won't have a story to tell. So
correct, yes. So we'll do that for her.
Yeah. But yeah.
But she will be, if you hear me saying Boob out of the blue, that is our friend Daisy, and she also has other names, like her real name. And then Anna here, her nickname for me is Bug, because she's just cute as a little bug. She's tiny.
Or at least I was before I had kids.
Stuff. And yeah, there's some other folks that have nicknames, but
yeah, I worked the other I had horrible continuing ed training the other day, and I really needed some caffeine when we took our first break, and I was like, man, where's Nitro when you need her? Because I need a quick run to the store and I don't want to go do it.
Yep.
But she's not there anymore either. So why, Casey, did you choose dispatching? I guess we should also say that dispatchers we tend to refer to ourselves as dispatchers, but I guess the proper term is 911 telecommunicator.
well, I guess it's our podcast, so we can call it whatever the fuck we
Yeah.
want to.
So, we don't want to offend anybody or
No, we
like
don't. We don't. But
we don't want to offend anybody. We don't want anybody to feel like they're being left out. Those are just the slang terms. And
that's
that
just the easiest for me is dispatcher.
right.
There's call takers, there's dispatchers, there's telecommunicators, whatever it
Right.
is. We
Right.
respect all of them. But
Yes.
um, so I always wanted to be a nurse. That was my goal, uh, childhood job, and obviously that didn't
No, you
happen.
wanted to clean up poop.
Yeah. It's about all it is nowadays, right? So that didn't happen. And my kids went to a babysitter that had other moms there that were um, in the dispatching field. And I was like, wow, man, that's something close to being a nurse. So I took the test and I failed it the first time. I missed it by 1 point. And for that agency, you had to wait a whole year before you could reapply. So I was like, yeah, well, I doubt that's going to happen. But I reapplied, I passed, and there you go. So I guess still was in the field of helping people, although it wasn't hands-on or in person. Um, I felt like I was still giving back to folks and helping. So,
Cool.
what about you?
I kind of fell into it because I had always wanted to just be a horse trainer and a horse rider, and that was what I wanted to do. But my parents were insistent that I had a backup plan or a real job. And so I went to college. I actually studied sports medicine. And when I did athletic training when I was in high school, and I got sort of peripherally involved in EMS. And I took an EMT class. I did all that. So I did some time with local EMS agency. And then I went off to college. And in my athletic training classes, we had to also do some time on the ambulance and in the emergency room and all that. And I kind of figured out quickly that, it seems like it's going to be cool, but it's not. It's a lot of just, the cool stuff doesn't happen that frequently. And so I was like, well, I'll just go on and do like sports stuff. So but then I foolishly got married out of college, and he was in the Army. So we lived overseas for a little bit, and I worked in a gym there. And when I came back, we ended up getting divorced, and I needed a real job. And at this time, I had decided that I wanted to. I had bought a horse, and I was showing, and I wanted to have time to do that. And all of the athletic training jobs, like on like fun sports teams, just took so much time. And then if you work in a high school, it also takes so much time, and they don't get paid any money either. So I was like, oh, God. So I tried working in a clinic and in a couple of rehab gyms. And I was just like, this is okay. Like I make okay money, and it's not that exciting. And I actually had two clients in the one gym that I worked at that worked for 911. And they were both like, we're hiring. You should apply. And I was like, oh, I don't know. But I did. I ended up doing it. I actually applied to two agencies. The test for the one, oh my gosh. I don't know what your original test was like. Was it the all computerized version?
It was a critical test, which yes was
Okay.
computerized.
Yeah.
Was a
So
little bit of
they had,
multitask. Yeah.
yeah, they had like their own version. And this is a bigger agency than the one that I went to work for initially. So they had their own version. And like the first part of it, they sat everybody in this auditorium and they played stuff. And you had to write down like, and they're playing, all kinds of different radio traffic and other random stuff. And I mean,
Wow.
and they whittled it down. Like there were, I don't know how many phases there were. And like after every phase, you had to see your name on the list. And like, we're not on the list. Out the door you went. I was kind of like, man, I don't know about all that. So um I did pass the test though. That agency offered me a job, but the other agency I applied for was closer to home. It was a little less money, but it was closer to home. And I was like, And I liked their schedule more because it gave me every other weekend off. Because we worked 12-hour shifts. The other agency worked 8. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna give this a go. Straight in, well, no, I trained on day shift. That's a lie. I did train on day shift, and then I went straight to nights, which I liked because I'm not a morning person. So, and then that agency was okay, but I was looking to do something more, and so moved on to a bigger agency. But yeah, I just kind of fell into it, and it paid me enough money to do what I wanted to do and gave me the time that I wanted.
Yes.
So yeah.
Yeah, well, that's cool. Some of those things I did not even know. See
Yeah.
how about
Mm-hmm.
and here we are going
Mm-hmm.
strong, the best of friends, and we've had our shares of lots of different calls together. So, yeah, which
We
we'll
have
get into
dealt
that
with
later on, but oh my gosh.
we have
And those
dealt with
days,
some stuff.
particular days, God, I miss so much shit.
Yes,
Like our shift in general, when we worked together on nights, that shift was the best. I
it
mean,
was.
we had so much fun, but when the shit hit the fan and it was time to go to work, like we did it. And
Right.
Tori, and I'm sure we'll talk later on. We've got lots of things to talk about. But just how you start trust, you have to trust your folks, that you work with because, I mean, somebody's life is definitely going to be on the line. Not ours, but because everybody could help each other on the difficult calls. So, but we'll
Right.
get to that. But yeah.
Yeah. And that the shit is really only going to hit the fan when you're understaffed, right?
Which is pretty
It's a
much
given, right? It's
um was almost in every shift thing. And
uh,
I don't think my entire time that I was at our agency, I don't know that we were ever fully staffed. Maybe when I first started, but I wouldn't have known because I didn't know shit about it at the time. But
right. Well, yeah, when I first started, the first agency that I worked at, we were fully staffed when I started. And it was really cool because we never, how we worked like the 36-48 week
mhm.
schedule, right? We didn't even work a 48. We worked a 36 and a 40.
Wow.
And yeah, because they had a swing shift that was staffed. And so on your 48-hour week, you came in late on either one day or 2 days, like you could work it out. And yeah, and then that didn't last too long, because
Yeah.
yeah. Um, Public safety is a revolving door. Especially communications. Oh my gosh. Um, so yeah, so it's very hard to get people that have been doing it for a long time. And yeah, but yeah, that was sweet in the beginning. And then I went and I'm like, wait, what? Now we got to work all this overtime? Anyway, it was good. It was good for the wallet though. So
Yes, indeed. Well, before we dive into our topics for today's episode, what what are you hoping or wanting out of our podcast?
uh,
Anything in particular, or
I want to educate people to the fact that it's this is a 911 and public safety in general is very individual to where you are, right?
yes,
And
amen. Can you say that
yes,
again?
yeah. Okay, so your 911 system, your public safety system is very individual to where you are, where you live, your jurisdiction. And it's amazing when you're answering these calls, like how many people don't even know where they live.
Yes. Ugh,
Um, so
unreal.
it's kind of frightening. So
Yes.
that's one thing. And the other thing is just to kind of raise more awareness for the plight of dispatchers everywhere and public safety people everywhere. You know, mental health is a big thing that doesn't get talked about.
Huge,
People are
huge.
talking about it now, like, oh yeah, we started talking about it. It's horrible. Like
Yeah, it
it's
is. It
yeah.
is horrible.
Um, so
Yeah, I think I'm in the same boat as you. I really hope that we can educate folks on, the real reasons to call 911, what to expect, and I know everyone is calling because it's an emergency, it's a crisis, it's the worst thing they've ever fucking gone through at that moment in time, but you also got to try to, in the back of your mind, realize that the person on the other end of that phone, the dispatcher, the telecommunicator, whatever, it's a person too. And, well, we'll just say this. Well, I'll say this now that to become a 911 operator or whatever, you have to be a special person. Like, there is no if and buts about it. You either get the job or you don't get the job. And, you know, I can't even express how special we are, like, because to hear what we hear day in and day out, shift after shift, um, it's not normal. And we'll get into that too later on down the road, but it's not normal. So yes, I want to get some education out there to everyone. Hopefully all the dispatchers that are going to listen can chime in at some point in time, and we want to be their voice as well. So yeah.
yes, we are special. And that's my husband interrupting.
Stop
He's
it.
also special because he's a fireman and he's
Yeah.
extra special. Um, which is why he needs to interrupt me during this to ask for a password. Really. Anyway, it's fine. It's fine. Um, but yeah, so uh funny that you mentioned that because there's an ER doctor that I follow on TikTok, and she is pretty funny. And she also has a lot of educational stuff for people, but just recently she did a video where I apparently showed her with an energy drink, a monster, whatever.
Oh, gosh.
And people like somebody, like scolded her in the comments, oh, you're, da 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 da. And I'm like, look, every person tasked with saving your tail is hopped up on
Yeah.
caffeine. Okay. We're all sleep deprived. We're hopped up on caffeine,
Yeah.
right? So
Indeed.
don't judge. Don't judge. Okay.
Definitely.
And the other thing that I laugh about is if any horse people are listening to this, you always see these memes about horses and how like they need to be kept in a bubble and they always get hurt and they're, like they're such fragile creatures, even though they're so big. It's not really true. If you take care of your horses right, they're pretty hardy. But I always think to myself, clearly these people sharing this meme have never looked at the public safety budget for their locality because really you people are harder to keep alive sometimes. The shit
Yes.
that y'all get into. What? So,
Indeed.
yes, so it is special. And how many times in our years did we like somebody start the job and do one shift and not come back? Or even leave in the middle of a shift and not come back?
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to go take a break and then send a text message. I'm not coming back.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Yeah.
Why did we think this?
I know.
So,
Why were we
that's
not that smart? Uh, uh,
oh, But I
anyway.
seriously would not have traded any of my time being a dispatcher. It has pretty much made me into the bitch that I
Right. Well, it's so
because now
it,
that I'm old, I just don't give a fuck anymore.
right. Well, that's the thing too. Now we're
Oh,
both at the age where we just don't give a fuck. But uh yeah, I mean, there's so many things um
there are.
that you're
And
more aware of
if
now.
we start talking and laughing about like some serious shit that would normally bother people, please don't get offended either because, we've learned how that's one of our coping uh ways to cope with horrible things is to joke, not at the person or the situation really itself, but just to throw that out there real quick. Um, but we've
Health and
already said this is
safety.
going to be a super inappropriate podcast, and it will be, especially as we get more comfortable. We'll really be getting into it. So hopefully nobody's going to be offended.
Well, and we're also from the generation where we didn't get offended easily and we don't
Not
really
at
care.
all.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Um, so right, public safety, man, and you just got like a morbid sense of humor because the
You
crap
have
that you
to.
see and
I mean,
hear and whatever. I mean, Lord have
if you
mercy.
don't, then half of the folks that would never last years. I mean, it's just not normal shit to be
Right,
hearing.
right.
So I mean, people would never last if but
Yeah. We didn't make some humor out of it. Do you remember that kid that got offended the one time we were doing CPR because um the CPR instructor started singing "Staying Alive"?
yes,
Yeah, he didn't last. But
yeah, not.
yeah, so there's that. And what do we want from you guys? We didn't really answer that question. But
Yeah,
yeah, like to be interactive. I mean, don't be mean. We're not being mean. We're trying to give you guys some facts and a little bit of insight into the life, but we're happy to answer questions,
yeah.
constructive criticism.
Want suggestions, feedbacks,
Yeah.
questions. At the end of the episodes, we'll always give out our email address, so you're more than welcome to share stories of your own. If you want to remain anonymous, you can certainly do that as well.
Yeah.
Um, we can read your stories to everyone. Um,
Yep. And we'll put the contact stuff in the show notes too. I'll put it in
yeah.
there.
So yeah, feedback, topics, if you want to be a guest or whatnot, and we're just going to see how this goes, and hopefully, if you're having a bad shift or took that bad call, and just know that you're not alone. We're here, and um,
Yeah.
probably been through it as well. And that's another thing that we want this to be an outlet of. No, we're not no kind of doctor. We're not trying to be doctors, psychiatrists, like none of that. But it is a place that you can open up.
Yeah. And we also get the bullshit stress of the job.
Yes.
Like, that's I think one of my biggest gripes with mental health, with the whole profession is that everybody wants to focus on the bad call, the bad scene or the whatever. And a lot of times it's just the day-to-day bullshit. And the lady who calls to cuss at you because their cable's not working during a freaking blizzard. Um, you
Yeah.
know,
Or do you remember? You might not have been on my shift, but I got a call where we were doing a funeral escort, I believe it
oh
was.
Lord.
And someone had called in complaining, that the traffic was backed up. And when I tried to explain, as if she couldn't see the hearse and shit driving down the road,
Right,
um,
right.
but she then's like, suck a dick, bitch. And I'm like, what? I was just like, wow, you just can't make this shit up.
You cannot. And like who if my mother, like who teaches these people to talk on the phone like that?
And she was
Anybody. I mean,
not
not
young.
just on the phone, but in person. Like who does like
It's just unreal.
Yeah, it is unreal the stuff that comes out of people's mouths. And like I can get it, like when you're having a legit emergency. And I have also been frustrated being behind a funeral procession or a tractor out where I live. But I would not think to talk to somebody like that was trying to help me um in that situation, right? Like,
Absolutely. I
but
don't know.
anyway, um yeah, I mean, and that goes, I mean, but that's true for like all customer service, right? Like, I don't know how we always joke about how that, especially Daisy, old Boob
Ugh.
has the best customer service from raging bitch, I will kill you, to how may I help you?
Yes.
The
She,
best, the best. So,
oh God, I love.
um, yeah. Um, so I guess we should start like on our
Yes.
actual topics, right?
Yes.
The
Let's do it.
first thing is what is a PSAP?
Well, I have no clue. What is a PSAP?
Do you even remember what a PSAP is, Casey? Oh
I
my God.
do. Just bullshit. So basically, it's just like your 911 centers, like the place that takes all the emergency calls from
Right,
dispatching, they bring the phone to, it's just a fancy way to say it.
right. The official name for that is the public safety answering point. And, and they're actually that is something that is set up by the phone company, right? Like whoever your phone provider is in the area, they come in, they give the numbers for the PSAP, they do all of that. And then the centers sort of built around those
Yeah.
numbers. And then those numbers are they're 10-digit numbers, just like anybody else's phone number, but they're connected to 911. So when you hit 911, it dials into a local PSAP.
I'm gonna say
Um,
local, meaning.
right. And so local, if you still have a landline phone, that is not a land like a wow, la la la.
Look
The
at
L's and
that.
the S's will get you.
What's
Radio,
the cup you got over there?
the L's and the S's, man. La, la, la. Never fails. But an actual landline that like is not a voice over IP, like it's got a wire. Um,
Do they
well,
still make?
yeah, I mean, I think. I don't have one, but
Me?
yes, they will dial right into whoever your phone company will set it up to dial into the local 911 center slash PSAP. If you have a voice over IP, depending on your voice over IP, and if you have moved your voice over IP, so like if you lived in, I don't know, Timbuktu and got you this voiceover, like back in the day, was it Vonage? That was like one of the first ones,
Oh yeah, yeah. Phew, been a while.
right? So if you got Vonage and then you like picked up and you moved out to San Francisco or something, if you didn't change your address with the
Yeah,
Vonage was still going to dial 911 in Timbuktu when you dial 911. It still
and that's
happens.
true. That is,
Yeah.
yeah, that is
Um,
definitely still true. So definitely something to make sure you know you've changed your stuff.
yes, because it's
Very,
not cool when you dial 911 and somebody's got somebody breaking into their house and they're telling you some addresses and streets
yeah.
you never heard of. You're like, where are you? And then they're like, I'm in San Francisco. Well, honey, you're across country. Like I can't. Um, yeah. So that's super important information to know.
Yes, it is.
Cell
Write it
phones.
down. Write it down, people.
Yeah, cell phones. You want to talk about that case?
Well, yeah, cell phones. Everybody's got one or two or three. Um, Now there's different phases, which I'm not gonna talk too much about it, except I know phase one, if it comes into the 911 center and it's showing phase one, like, God, has it really been that long? Like you're not, it's no guarantee, right, that you're gonna get like the cell phone like
Right. Like the original cell phones were all phase one, and then
yeah.
we went to phase two.
Uh,
So yeah,
what's
if
better? The phase two is definitely better. More than likely we're gonna find you on the maps that are within the centers to help with cell phone folks calling in. But
and that's
also remember too that if you're traveling, guys, and your mother or something's in Florida having an emergency, and you're down in South Carolina or something, it ain't happening. When you dial 911, you're from your cell phone, you're going to get whatever jurisdiction you're close to, whatever your cell phone tower it's pinging from, that's close to where you are, not to where your loved one is that's having the emergency.
yeah. And um yeah, location information is also dependent on your provider and
Hmm.
how good their location information is in that area. Different providers have a different accuracy in different areas. So, for instance, in our area, Verizon has a good accuracy.
Hmm.
AT&T is not so great. They might give you a mile and a half radius. Well, that does not
It
help
does,
you when you're in a
yeah,
well-populated area.
and it doesn't
Um,
sound like a mile would be that big of a deal, but when it's a death, or what am
yeah,
I trying to say? Like a life or death emergency, yeah, a
right.
mile.
And if you live in a city or even a suburb, you're talking a highly populated area. That's a lot of places to be looking. And the other thing that is, it will your phone will try to hit the nearest tower, but if that tower is not available, it will go to the next. And I know, have had instances where we got calls from like 60 miles away
Yeah,
because of a natural disaster that was happening in their area, and their calls were getting pushed that far out. Um,
crazy to
so
think.
so just know, yeah, if you're in a situation like that, you know, that your call may not go to where you think it's going. So always know where you are.
Yes, yes. Especially if you're traveling, like if you know you're going to go on vacation or something, like take like the week before or something, just look at where you're going to go and what hotel you might be staying at. Okay, well, where's the closest hospital? Like where's like just know the surroundings, get landmarks, know street names, write it down. Tell other people that may not be traveling with you, the area that you're going to be in case something happens. And I don't know, it's just so important. Like just be safe, people, and don't be oblivious that shit's not going to happen to you or can't, because it
Right.
will. Just a matter of when.
Right. Right. And what was I just thinking of? Oh my God, it just left my brain. But oh, and there is no reason why when you live somewhere, you don't know your address. People, come on. You didn't tell me I done lived in this house 20 years and I don't know my address. What?
God bless.
There's no reason. No reason at all.
Not
You
at all.
know where you live. Don't give me that. I don't know my address. That is one thing I just don't understand that with people. So
Yeah.
know your
There's a lot of
address where you
bullshit
live.
stuff, but there are some folks that just don't
Oh,
know.
they
And
they don't. I mean, I know, I have had so many calls up. Well, let me find a piece of mail
yes,
in your own house.
unreal.
No. And and some of them are people that have just moved, but some of them are not. And
Yeah.
I think, we've been in a house that we're in now, 6-ish, 7 years, something like that, right? I mean, I knew that address before we moved because we visited the place. We looked it up on realtor.com. Like, come on. How do you not know your address?
Yeah, that's but we can't make this shit up.
Right. And I guess we should feel happy in a sense that people feel this secure in their environment that they don't need to know these seemingly minor details.
Minor.
Right. But yeah, yeah. That's it.
But, like I said, an emergency will happen to you, to someone that's in your house. I mean, it's going to happen, people. Like, I mean, come on.
Right.
And just like, don't be stupid. Like it is. And the more information that you could provide these men and women working these phones, it's going to make your life a lot fucking easier. It's going to make their job easier getting the help, the correct help, um, you know, faster, and then everything, it'll be done.
Right.
Because every second counts. Like once you hit that 911 and hit that send button or whatever the hell it is, um, I mean, time ticks. Like especially in a life or death emergency. I mean, time is all you got on your side. So the dumber you're acting or whatever, or the bullshit you want to throw out instead of answering simple questions, that's on you, really, for wasting time that's precious at that moment. So,
Yeah. And if your call doesn't go to the right place, whether it's because you're not in the right place or it gets shunted because, of a cell phone tower issue or whatever, they're probably going to have to transfer you.
yeah.
And I think at least where we work, we pretty much have all of the in-state agencies or a vast majority of the in-state agencies um in our phone system so we can transfer. But if you're out of state, girl, I gotta Google. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yep.
And
We got to Google just like your ass would have to Google. I mean,
right. So yeah, it's not a quick thing. And you know, in our intro, I said there's what almost 18,000 or almost 19,000 um law enforcement agencies. There's over 2,000 PSAPS in the country. So that's a lot of centers. I mean, if you figure there's, out of 50 states, how much, what is that, 4 per state? Something like that. Yeah. Um, no, that's not wrong. 40. So so that's a lot to keep track of. And then, every state has 40, so like just be aware of that. And then, I know where we are, there's jurisdictions that are close to each other, and we all might have the same postal city as our address, but we're not in the same jurisdiction.
yep.
So that's important to know too. Like, what is your local jurisdiction? Just because your address says a city, you know, you may not be in that city's jurisdiction necessarily. So,
Meaning that, we're not gonna be able to send you a rescue squad or a fire truck because we don't go, well, most jurisdictions don't go outside of their jurisdiction unless they're called by another agency to assist.
right.
So, I mean, that's why it's so important to really know, like, what zip code do you pay your taxes to? That's a good way to.
Yes, yes. And a lot of times the street address, if it's close, like within the jurisdiction, we would know, if you've got a good street address, we would know. Or we at least know it's not in our jurisdiction because it's not doesn't go into our computer. But yeah, that's a big thing. And people get very confused about, well, I dialed 911, but I need 911 4 states away from me, and I don't have the number either.
Yeah,
So,
it unfortunately does not work that like that at
right.
all.
So and so I guess if you ever do need to call an emergency, like somebody is having an emergency in another area, the easiest thing to do is Google that agency's, like, I don't know, like, let's say I'm going to use like New York City because that's a really big one. When you want to call someplace like that, it's going to get complicated. But let's say you got a friend who lives in Panama City Beach, Florida.
Yeah,
Just Google Panama City Beach, Florida emergency communications. And it will usually, even if it's in a county and not in the city or whatever, it will usually pop up with a number. We call them the non-emergency number for the PSAP or the communication center, but that will get you to the people who answer 911 calls.
yeah,
And then if you have an address for them, they can tell you, yes, that's us, or no, maybe it's, the jurisdiction next door. But yes, we are not nationally connected. We probably can't transfer you out of state.
yeah, not so much.
And I don't even know in other states if those jurisdictions keep their other in-state agencies in their phones. I don't know. We do that. I don't know if other
Yeah,
places
I'm
do or not.
sure, but it is something a good question to ask. Call your
Yeah,
local jurisdiction and ask them. Like,
yeah, you can always call the non-emergency number and ask questions like that. It's always nice to ask, like, are you busy? Do you have time to answer some questions?
yeah, always ask that first because you
Yeah.
just never know what's going on at the time. But also like know your non-emergency numbers, people to your
Yep, put them in
local
your phone.
jurisdiction. Um, that's
Yep.
really important because not every call that's dialed into 911 should have been dialed on 911.
Right.
Majority of the calls, actually, unless it's a life or death situation, you should not be dialing 911 at all.
Right.
Um,
So yeah, what's like your first what's your favoritist non-emergency call that comes in on 911?
um, I think directions, like, because I mean, I got that a lot, and I'm sure you did too. It's like, people, you have a cell phone that has the internet, like, you have everything you need right there in your hand. Stop being so fucking lazy and look the shit up. Like,
I, oh, that's
there's
funny. I
GPS,
think
Google,
yeah,
like, I mean, come on.
I think that's funny because I think directions probably bothers me less, especially depending on the person. Like, sometimes you get elderly people and they're just disoriented and they don't know where they are, and like
Well, that is true. Now, yeah.
that I can have some sympathy for, some empathy there. Um, but
But like these young bucks and stuff, I mean, come on, you know how to use them damn GPSs and shit better than I do, for sure.
right, right.
Um, but God, there's probably so many that I just let me think about it some more.
Okay, so
What about you?
well, one of my favorites is always the cat in the tree.
Yes.
Cat in the tree, and then like the random, I picked up a baby wildlife thing.
Yeah.
Squirrel, bird, whatever it is. Leave the baby wild things alone.
Yes.
Um, but cats, and I think one of the animal control officers said it best once. He said, "Have you ever seen cat bones in a tree?" And you know what? No, I haven't. I've never seen cat bones in a tree, and I've never seen cat bones scattered at the base of a tree. Like
Nope.
they turned to bones and fell out the tree. No. Okay. So the cat got up there, the cat will get down.
I know exactly who you're talking about. He said,
The cat will get down. And my husband being a firefighter, I'm gonna tell you what, he is not climbing up no ladder to get a cat. He don't
yes,
like climbing up ladders anyway, which sounds silly since he's a fireman, but whatever. Right? Like he ain't get no cat out of no tree.
like people, this is not fucking Chicago fire. It like no, we they don't do that. Put some damn food at the bottom,
Right.
and
Right.
he will come down. It will come down one way or another.
Yep. Indeed. Indeed.
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh, and then
like
you
the bear calls and stuff, like
yeah.
wildlife. I mean, same with that type of stuff, y'all. Just stop leaving food shit laying around outside. Like pick your
And
trash up.
when you live in the country, you're gonna see wildlife.
Yes.
Like and where we worked, we had this like we have like urban, suburban, and country all in the same.
Hmm.
And so there's a lot of people I think that move from like urban areas out to the country because they're like, oh, we're gonna move out to the country. And then they're like, holy crap, it's a bear.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
But yeah, stop leaving shit out laying around. People like they love bird food, like seeds, and they eat trash. I mean, same with raccoons and all that shit. Just put your shit up.
Yes.
That's it.
Yeah. And mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Oh, and yes, if you call 911 and the first words out of your mouth are this isn't an emergency, but
Oh my God, that's just about every call. Yes, got lots of those. Lots of.
Yeah,
That's great. Okay, so then why are you on my fucking phone?
right,
Can
right.
you just tell me that if you don't have a life or a death emergency? Why are you talking to me right now?
Yeah. Oh, I have a question that reminds me to get off my phone. Um, for any other public safety dispatchers, communicators, whatever that are listening, do y'all do the thing where you hit the end button on your keypad a proportionate number of times to how badly that person just pissed you off? Like, do you do that? Do you do that? Um,
What she was talking about, guys, when you're hanging up the phone and you just.
right, right, right. Or the mad typing, right? Like you could always tell when somebody's like getting irritated because they're typing, the clackety clack gets louder.
Oh my God. That is why I do not have nails, because I'd
Yep,
be
well
more than
me,
bitch all.
right? Yep, just type them
Oh
things right off. I don't know how the girls that have the nails do that, but yeah. So those are funny things. And
oh shit.
know that we probably are talking about you when we hang up the phone, just FYI.
Yeah, it probably is happening. If you think it is, it totally is. Oh my God.
But again,
You
we're
have
still
to.
there. We're still there to help you. We're still getting the help out there. We're asking you questions because we legitimately need to know the information. We're not asking questions because we're nosy. Really, we probably really don't care.
Yeah.
Like in the grand scheme of things, I don't really want to know all this information from my personal self, but I do need to know the information to get you the help that you're requesting. So, yeah, and
Like
people,
when you're rolling up to the Burger King and you're ordering that Whopper and they're like, what do you want on it or whatnot? Like they really don't give a fuck what you want on it, but obviously they gotta know because
right,
they want to give it to you the right
right,
way. And
right.
it's the same
They
type deal.
know that you're gonna be mad if they put the ketchup on there and you ask for no ketchup,
Yes.
right? So we're just trying to help you out. Trying to help you out, get you the right kind of help. Because
Yeah,
sometimes people don't know.
they don't. And
They don't
that's
know
why
what
we're
they
here.
need. That's why they
That's
call
why
911, and that's cool. Let us do our jobs and ask you the questions. Yeah. All right, so I think we probably bitched enough for this session.
yeah.
Um,
I do
so
have a couple shout outs though. Before we close this one out, I got a few. Um, I gotta find them first. I'm organized, I swear. I just had the shit.
yeah, we are highly organized people who can multitask like no other.
Usually.
Yeah, which probably
Yep,
means that we just have shit everywhere and we're gonna figure it out.
yep. And look, I did figure it out. So I'm going to give a few shout outs first to Boob and Ann, Amanda, Chelsea, Joanna, hey girl, Lori, Becca Face, Scooty Toots, which is also known as Elena, and
Oh man.
and Mike and Bryant. That's what we've got so far. If you would like to give anyone a shout out in your area or whatever, um, yeah, we'll give you the information to do so here in a little bit.
Yeah. So next time we're going to go a little deeper into what happens when you call 911, depending on what you need. And maybe depending on what type of center you call into, because that'll make a difference.
Yes.
And key things to know. We went over the address, location, location.
Yeah.
Cannot say that enough. Location. When you call 911, but we'll go over some other things that are important. We'll have a lot of other bullshit for you too. And we
Yes.
definitely thank you to all of the dispatchers, first responders out there.
Yes. So much.
You guys are keeping people alive every day, man.
Yay.
Yay. Yay. And helping people out of just sticky situations. But
Yes.
you know,
So we want to, like I said, hear back from anybody and everybody. And we also would like you to give any reviews on Spotify or on our page. But you can send us some info about yourself or stories, shout outs if you want to be a guest. Our email address is podcast911delta@yahoo.com. We would love to hear from you guys.
yeah. And if you have any cool 911 calls that like you've heard, maybe if you're like me and you listen to true crime, that's my other thing. Seems weird, right? Like, why would you listen to that? But anyway, yeah, you could send us some ideas for that. Oh, I think Casey's working on some social media.
Yes, trying to get that done for us. And hopefully, next episode, we'll have a call of the day that we will listen to and talk about, laugh about, cry about. Who knows?
Right. So our
Um,
plan is to be with you every Thursday. Yeah.
if you're lucky. Yes, every Thursday, you will be blessed with our presence for about 45 minutes to an hour. And we
Yeah,
love it.
as long as you can tolerate us.
Share us with everybody you know, all the comm centers around, because that's what we're here for. We're here for you guys.
All right, y'all. Well, we will talk to you next time.
See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.